So we'll start. A very good afternoon to one and all. A warm welcome to today's session. As we are all coping with the second wave and managing our lives and living through, but there is still uncertainty about COVID-19 crisis and its future implications. With this aim in mind, we are here to understand COVID-19 and its vaccination and also to address few of your queries. For today's session, we partnered with Chennai Urology and Robotics Institute Hospital, and we have Dr. Ruby with us. Welcome, Dr. Ruby. Dr. Ruby is a consultant microbiologist and infection control officer of Chennai Urology and Robotics Institute Hospital, Chennai. She completed her MBBS in Tirunelveli Medical College and MD Microbiology in Madras Medical College and has an experience of over 16 years. Presently, she leads the diagnostic and laboratory services of Curie Hospital. Under her supervision, Curie Hospital has vaccinated more than 7,000 people through Curie COVID vaccination drive in the last 2 months. I would now request Dr. Ruby to start with this session. And as the session progresses, you all may type in your questions in the chat box and we'll address them after the presentation. Dr. Ruby, over to you.
Yeah, good morning to all. I'm Dr. Rupa from Chennai Urology and Robotic Institute Hospital. I'm the consultant microbiologist there. Chennai Urology and Robotic Institute Hospital is a urology hospital. We specialize in kidney care, where we take care of both the medical and surgical part of anything related to kidney, bladder, ureter. We also have the urogynecology part of it, and our chairman is the leading consultant, Dr. P.B. Shivaraman. He has got an experience of more than 60 years in this urology, and he has operated more than 3,000 renal transplant surgeries. And our MD, Dr. Anantha Krishnan Shivaraman, is a robotic surgeon. So robotic surgery in urology is next level to laparoscopic surgery. So you can read about it in the Google. And we also have other consultants coming in, and we also have a COVID care where we have now offered around 50 beds out of our 75 beds to COVID, seeing the necessity of COVID patients and all that. So now we have dedicated 50 beds out of 75 beds to COVID, and even those are full actually now. So coming to the point, let me start sharing my PowerPoint. So, as you all know, the name COVID came from coronavirus disease 2019. So the initial two letters, COVID and 19, from there came the name is COVID-19. It is mostly a respiratory disease. So as you all know, initially it is a zoonotic disease, and it is still thought to be have originated from bats, and through pangolins it has come to humans, and it started from China, from Wuhan in Hubei province. And at present worldwide we have total number of cases of over 16 crores, and India we have 2.3 crores, and recovered equally good 13.9 crores in the world and 1.9 crores in India. Death was till now it is 33 lakhs in the world and 2.5 lakhs in India, which is around 2% worldwide and 1% in India. So there is always a question saying why second wave is more important than the first wave. Why are we facing so much of trouble in the second wave? What is the statistics which says that second wave is more rampant than the first wave? You can see the graph in the mid of September in 2020, the wave is very small compared to this wave. In the mid of May, around 11th May, see the peak. So it is almost triple of what was there in 2020. So the second wave is very serious, and we need to take it seriously and take steps to protect ourselves from the second wave. So the new cases on an average every day was 96,000, around 96,000 in the peak in September 2020. Whereas in May 2021, new case every day has risen up to 3,82,000, which is almost 4 times what was the last time. And it took more than 100 days to peak. If you see the graph, from very few cases to the peak, it has taken almost 3 months to 3.5 months. But if you see the wave, the second wave, you can see that it has only taken less than 50 days. See, in the February, the curve is very flat, whereas in May 11th, it has reached almost the peak. And we hope and believe that this would be the peak and it will come down because of the lockdown and everything that has been put by the government recently. And death was around 1,200 per day in the first wave peak, whereas the second wave peak, it is even more than 4,000 per day. And age affected was more than 50 years during the first peak, but now it is more in the 18 to 40 years age group, and the death is also more in this age group. I think because the vaccine has been given to people over 45 years, I think that group of people have been protected from death. And this 18 to 45 years, we are yet to get the vaccine. And I think that is the major reason why the death is more among this 18 to 45 years group. And also, these people go out for work, and this age group, middle age group, they go out for work and they want to socialize, they go out to purchase things and all that. So I think this age group is first affected during this wave. And I also want to remind you that this is not the first SARS-CoV we got. We got one SARS-CoV-1 in 2002 to 2004. To talk about the R0 is how many number of people get infected from the one person. So if, for example, I get infected, how many can I affect? With SARS-CoV-1, it was 2 to 4 people per person. But for COVID-2, they say even 100 people can get affected if it's a closed room, AC room, and people are not wearing masks, and one person coughs out, even 100 people can get affected. And the SARS-CoV-1 was also a zoonotic disease, and the total number of cases was 8,000. The case fatality was 9.6, almost 10 out of 100 died. But then the infection spread was less, so we were able to escape. And the SARS-CoV-1 affected only 8,000 people, and it restricted itself to 26 countries, and the whole thing came down in 4 months. But that's not the case in COVID-2. And MERS-CoV-1 is a Middle East respiratory syndrome. That's also a coronavirus. That happened in Saudi Arabia in 2012. And that R0, the number of people affected from a single person was around 3. And that came from bat to camel to human. And see, the case fatality rate was 34. 1 in 3 died. But then there also, the spread was less. That's why we all escaped. So why this COVID-19 is different from other coronavirus which came earlier? It's because there are many asymptomatic carriers. They do not know that they're infected, and they go around working, they go to shops, they go to malls, they go everywhere. They don't wear masks, and they spread to others. That is one important thing why this COVID-19 is not controllable. And they are not, as I said, one person can infect even 10 people to 100 people if they're not wearing a mask or they're not following a proper social distancing. The spread is very rampant. That's why this COVID-19 is shaking the whole world. And coming to the mode of transmission, during the first wave, we had all things like it could be a direct transmission or indirect transmission. Direct transmission could be when you cough, sneeze, or talk, the droplets from your mouth. When you talk, there are tiny droplets like 5 to 10 micrometers or even lesser than that. And these just get into the other person's nostril or mouth or eyes when they inhale, and they get infected. That is how the direct transmission happens. Indirect transmission was said like these droplets go and settle on surfaces, or you cough on the hand and then you touch a door handle, and another person comes and touches the handle. If he touches his nose, he gets infected. That is what was these two modes of transmission are the most important modes of transmission. But then now, direct transmission is said to be more common. People, even our people or people whom I know, when we talk to them, when they get COVID, when they talk to us on phone and when we dig out and find out, they surely have a source of infection. They say they'd gone to some place and that person had fever and he did not tell, but they two ate together or they talked for 5 minutes. So they got, so that kind of thing is always there. So nowadays people are very, very, knowledgeable and they wear mask when they go to the common place, but they don't wear mask when some family friend or some relative comes to their house. They think they are our family friends. They will not have. They will not tell us if they have. They will tell us if they have all that. But even they might not know that they have infection. So it's always better to wear a mask, for them to wear a mask and for you to wear a mask when someone enters your house, because house is a place where you don't wear mask. But when someone else comes into the house, it's better you wear a mask and ask them also to wear a mask. And coming to this is also an old study where they said aerosols, the particle is there for 3 hours. And in plastic, it remains for 72 hours. In stainless steel, it remains for 48 hours. Cardboard, it remains for 8 hours. In copper, it remains for 8 hours. So the best thing is to protect yourself from aerosol, you can wear your mask whenever you step outside the house. And other places, when you're working in the office, you can clean the table, door handles with the disinfectant. Bleach would be a good thing, which is available everywhere. And the incubation period. Incubation period is the time between you get the virus enters your body and the time when you start presenting symptoms. So it is somewhere between 2 to 14 days, but on an average, it's 5 to 6 days. So if you really think you've been exposed to some person who had COVID, then you need to isolate yourself and look for symptoms at least till 5th or 6th day. Usually it presents on the 4th, 5th, 6th day. So you need to be careful. In between, you can take vitamin tablets. You can take steam inhalation with turmeric powder and neem. You can take steam inhalation. If in case you've gone out and you're doubtful about someone you talked to, or you learn that they become positive after you met them, and then you're very worried, you can isolate yourself. You can wear a mask if you don't want to spread to others, and you can look for the symptoms till the 5th to 6th day. Mostly you will present by then. And in between, you can do steam inhalation at least twice or thrice a day. If it's in the nostril, there's always a chance for it to die. And if you don't have anything, it's fine. You can just take neem leaves and this turmeric powder. And you can also get these capsules for steam inhalation, green color ones from the medical shop. You can do that. And then usually you can say that person was not positive when I met him. Then he became positive on the next day, or he got fever on the next day. Is there a chance for me to get infected? Yes, because they start transmitting infection right from the one day previous to they start getting the symptoms. So if I get fever tomorrow, but today I'm normal, you have met me today, but tomorrow I started getting symptoms. Are you at risk? Yes, you are at risk. So these are the common symptoms we get. Last time it was mostly fever, body pain, cough, and breathing difficulty. Dry cough was there last time. So we have two wave symptoms. Last time we had fever, cough, and tiredness, and body pain, and sore throat. Some had headache, diarrhea, and loss of taste and smell was there during the last wave also. And some had chills and advanced level, they had shortness of breath. This way we have some new presentations. More than fever, we have, last time running nose was not at all there. But this time we have runny nose, we have patients who present with severe headache, severe body pain and weakness. So during the COVID, they even lose up to 6 kgs. The muscle mass, they lose up to 6 kgs and they feel very tired. All this are seen in the second wave. And weakness, and some children and adults present with the vomiting sensation and vomiting, and some children present with diarrhea, and some adults and children present with red eyes this time, and some present simply with dizziness. They feel dizzy, but when you check, they have COVID, and some present with severe chills and cold. And this time there's a specific feature like dry mouth. They say my mouth is very dry. I don't get saliva. They have difficulty in chewing and swallowing. And some are presenting with rashes all over the body. Either they have pus-filled rashes or red ones, and rarely they also present with hearing impairment. These are special presentations for the second wave. And as you all know, who are all at risk? People about 60 years with comorbidities, cancer patients, uncontrolled diabetes, uncontrolled hypertension, lung patients, heart disease patients, and obese patients. This time also, obese patients are at high risk. So I want obese people to take extra caution to, prevent themselves from getting infected. But what is different in second wave? All the elders thank the vaccine and um, the vaccine that above 60 years they've been saved a little this time, but we are very very upset that 30 plus, 30 to 45, this age group, it's going for a toss. Many deaths. We are very upset seeing deaths between 30 to 45, and vaccination is very very important. We are waiting for people between 30 to 45 to get vaccinated, and I also request and recommend and humbly request you to get vaccinated if you get a chance. And children also, the number is increasing this time. Last time children number was not very high, it was very minimal, but this time even children are getting, and the severity is also high among children. And that last time the oxygen requirement was not at all there in children, but this time 40% of the children also require oxygen. So diagnosis, how do we diagnose? We usually look at the symptoms. We are able to identify with the symptoms, and then we do the RT-PCR, which is the swab test done from the nose and throat, and then CT scan gives us an idea, and then immunoassay, that's the next level. So test samples, RT-PCR, as you all know, the swab is taken from the nose. So they put a swab inside your nose and it reaches the throat through the nose, and we take from both the nostrils and also from the throat. For patients who are admitted and unconscious, we take their lung aspirate, bronchoalveolar lavage. And what do they see? What genetic material do they see in this thing? They see this spike proteins, envelope proteins, nucleocapsids, membrane antigens. These are the proteins they see in the RT-PCR. And where else can this be present? The virus, it can be present in the feces, in tears, ocular secretions, breast milk, and stomach. What are the other tests which we have? We have rapid antigen test, which is on-the-spot test like pregnancy test. We just take a swab and we mix it with a buffer and put a drop in the card test, and we get the report in 15 minutes. And we also have nucleic acid amplification test, which takes 3 to 4 hours, which is a little less than this PCR, but it's better than rapid antigen test. And the serology antibody test, this is to detect whether you've been exposed to the COVID earlier. And CT scan, for some people, this way, we see that RT-PCR is negative. CT scan shows lung changes. That case also, we take the patient as a COVID positive patient and we start treating them. So management, as you all know, even this time, though we are seeing a lot of deaths and all, the death is 2% of the total number, 1% of the total number, and that's why we are seeing deaths. But only thing which is panicking us is the death is among this productive age group, which is between this 18 to 45. So a lot of children are left without parents. That is all very upsetting. But even now, 80% of the people have mild illness. They can be in home quarantine and they get better with home quarantine and tablets and monitoring themselves. Only 14% require hospitalization, out of which 5% require intensive care, and out of which 1 to 2% land in death. So the 2 ways out, I will not say 2 ways, 3 ways. The first way is prevention. So I beg you and request you to keep yourself protected with whatever measures is available, like wearing a mask, not going out unnecessarily. And the second point is vaccine. I heard that your company is planning for a vaccination drive. It is very, very good if you get that vaccination drive, because we are not able to do that now for all the people. So if the company is taking the effort to vaccinate the employees, that's a very, very good thing. Please make use of it. And herd immunity, that has to happen either by vaccination or by natural infection. Only if 70 to 80% of the total population is infected, then this herd immunity will develop. Herd immunity is when most of the people are infected and they don't get infected. If at all they come and get exposed to infection, and they do not transmit infection also. So that will take maybe another 5 to 6 months. But now what we have in hand are two options. One is prevention with all the steps, and vaccination. So coming to the vaccines, as you all know, the vaccines we have now is Covaxin and Covishield. Covaxin is Bharat Biotech's production along with ICMR and NIV Pune. And Covishield is manufactured in Serum Institute, and it was developed by AstraZeneca with Oxford University. So these two vaccines are available in India. As Pfizer and Moderna, they are not available in India. They're basically mRNA vaccines. And Sputnik V and Johnson & Johnson, they are also viral vector-based vaccines, which are not available now, and they may become available shortly. So these two are the vaccines available in India, Covishield and Covaxin. So Curie, Chennai Urology and Robotic Institute, we have vaccinated more than 7,000 people, and we have not got any untoward effect in any of them. So common side effects are always common. Like we had people, like even I had mild fever, and my colleague doctors had mild body pain for 2 days, 1 or 2 days. We had pain at the site of the injection, and a few had diarrhea, and a few had tiredness. Some did not have anything. Many did not have anything. So these were the common side effects we and our people who got vaccinated from Curie had. Not even one had any breathlessness or chest discomfort or anything. So Covishield is a viral vector vaccine. You might have come across through viral vector vaccine in many WhatsApp forwards, but I just want to tell you what it is. So this Covishield targets in the spike protein of SARS-CoV-2. So how does it work? They took an adenovirus from chimpanzee, and they weakened the adenovirus, and they put the genetic material which codes for the spike protein for SARS-CoV-2. So when that vaccine is given to you, automatically our body starts producing antibodies against these spike proteins, and our body has a memory, and it remembers that the spike protein, when it comes and attacks us, we have to produce this antibody. So in future, whenever we get an infection with the COVID, this body remembers that vaccine, and it thinks, okay, the same spike protein has come, we have to produce the antibodies, and it starts producing the antibodies. And that is how people who are vaccinated are protected. So we are doing a dummy thing. Like first we give the vaccine, which actually makes our body ready to produce antibodies against those spike proteins. When in future we get exposed to a COVID virus, and the body remembers this vaccine, and it remembers the spike protein, and it starts producing the antibodies. That is how this Covishield works. And Covaxin, this is an inactivated SARS-CoV-2 virus itself. It has got the whole virus inactivated. You don't get infection. You just get the feel of it, or the body gets exposed to how that virus will look like. So it will start producing antibodies against different parts of the virus, inactivated virus. Then later, when the virus comes and attacks us, the body remembers, okay, we've already got this exposed to this kind of virus. So let us start producing the antibodies, and the body will start producing the antibodies, and they'll fight the actual infection. That is how this Covaxin works. So when we come to the interval between the actual vaccination doses, for Covishield, between the first dose and second dose, you need to have a interval of 6 to 8 weeks. And for Covaxin, it is 4 to 6 weeks. And coming to efficacy, it is around 70 to 80%. And you must have seen in lots of WhatsApp also. it doesn't. Both Covishield and Covaxin, they don't prevent you from getting infection. You may get infected even after vaccination. But what it prevents is you will not land into severe infection. You will not land into death. It will be a mild to moderate case and you will escape. That is what this vaccine assures or gives us. And Covaxin, the efficacy is up to 80%. So now there's a lot of question asking us like, will it there are a lot of new strains like UK strain, South African strain, double mutant, triple mutant. Will this Covishield or Covaxin protect us against that? Yes, it will give you immunity against all these because anyway the spike proteins are the same and it will protect you from the severity of the disease. You will not land into severe illness or death. It will protect you from severity of the illness. But again, this mutant strain and triple mutant, double mutant, the study is going on and we are yet to identify how many percentage of people are protected by this vaccine. That study and statistics is yet to come. So side effects, as I already told you, mostly it is fever, body pain, stiffness of the arm, and pain at the site, mild swelling at the site of the injection. Usually we give it on the left upper arm. So some people have had nausea, vomiting. Some people have got joint pain, muscle pain. Some people have got rashes. And only thing you have to be worried is after vaccination, if at all you get rashes all over your body, or if you get tightness of chest, breathlessness, or palpitation, then you'll have to come to the hospital. But usually people don't get any of these. So who are all contraindicated from getting the vaccine? If you're breastfeeding or you're lactate or you're pregnant, you're not supposed to get vaccinated according to the government orders and according to the product vaccine producers. And if you have any allergies for food or medicines, you have to discuss with the doctor and then get vaccinated. If you have any bleeding disorder, then you have to discuss with your doctor. If you're immunocompromised and you're on some medicines like methotrexate, steroids, then you have to discuss with the doctor because the dosage depends. If the dosage is very high, the vaccine might not act. So you need to discuss with the doctor. And you always have to tell the doctor that whether it's your first dose or second dose and what kind of vaccine you got in the first dose because the same dose has to be had again. First dose, if it's Covishield, second dose also should be Covishield. First dose, if it's Covaxin, second dose also have to be Covaxin. And if you have had a severe allergic reaction during the first dose, then you're not supposed to take the second dose. So there is confusion and worry about this thrombosis, like blood clot. Yes, Covishield is accepted that it's extremely rare, but it can happen in 1 in 2.5 lakhs of people. So we do not know who is that 1 in 2 lakh, but it doesn't mean that all these 2.5 lakhs can be, without getting vaccinated, getting exposed to the COVID virus. So if you take it even as 1% of this 2.5 lakh will get death, then you can see the number will be more than 2,000 people who will die. That is higher number compared to 1 in 2.5 lakh. So it's better you get vaccinated. So as you all know, the precautions are social distancing, 6 feet away from others. When you go to work or when you go to shopping, maintain a distance of 6 feet and always wear a face mask when you step out of the house. And once you come back to the house, remove the face mask, and if it's disposable one, dispose it, wrapping it in a cover. If it's washable one, wash it immediately, wash your hands. If possible, even if you're going to hospital, come and take bath. So if you need to see sick people, better keep a distance and wear your mask, especially N95 or surgical mask. Don't visit them without a mask. And if you are sick, please stay at home. And while you're out for work, please mostly follow online work. Follow cough etiquette. Like when you cough, you keep your hand like this and cough. Don't cough out and spread to others. And always wear a mask so that you don't touch your nose, eyes, or face. And wash your hands frequently because you don't know, you might have touched some surface where the COVID 19 is there. You do not know. So, frequent hand washing, especially before and after eating or after coming back from work, is very, very important. And even office seating arrangements, you can maintain a distance. And please don't sit together and eat at the lunch breaks because I've even heard doctors say, we all ate together, but the next day she became COVID positive. What do I do? Well, we cannot do anything. So you better sit separately and eat. And even tea time, everything, you take your tea or you take your samosas separately. Don't sit with others and eat. And if you feel any sickness like body pain or sore throat or fever, please inform your HR and take leave. Don't go to office and spread to others. And avoid touching common places where you think all people will touch, or use a tissue to open the door knobs and all that. And also, you need to keep your sugar, pressure, and any other chronic illness under control because if you get a COVID infection and your diabetes or hypertension or any other chronic illness is not under control, you will land in difficulties. And hand washing, as I said, once you return from your work, you better take bath and keep washing your hands frequently before and after using bathroom, before and after eating, you wash your hands. So face mask N95 is the best, surgical mask is the next, and cloth mask is the last one. So do's and don'ts, as you all know, you have to handle the this part and not the outer surface of the mask because the corona will be there on the outer surface of the mask. If you touch this part and then you remove the mask and then touch your face or mouth, anyway, you're going to get the COVID. So you always have to remove the tag part, not the front part. And as soon as you wear the mask, you have to tighten this part. There'll be a metal or something here which will keep the mask stiff on the nose. I see a lot of people mask here. There's no use of wearing a mask. So it should be always above your nose and it should be covered till here. And after using the mask, you wrap it in a paper and put it in the dustbin and wash your hands with soap and water immediately. And if it's soil, no, if you're sweating a lot and it gets wet or somehow it gets soil, then remove the mask and wear a new mask. Don't reuse the mask. So now the latest guidelines by CDC is like 2 points are there. One is this double masking and tucking in of the knot and tuck in of this mask. So see, if you knot at this place, it becomes very tight. I see even in my hospital, I see a lot of people wearing masks loose and there's a lot of space here and here. COVID will enter anyway. So if you just put a knot or roll it and put it across your ears, there won't be any gap. And you also have to tuck in the sides. So there's no gap where the COVID virus can enter. And you can also wear a double mask. Double mask is one surgical mask. Above that, you can wear a cloth mask. Or you can wear, these two are the things you can unite and you can use. This helps you more. It prevents more. So I want to show you how much it prevents. So simple unknotted surgical mask, it prevents COVID only 56%. Whereas if you put a knotted mask and tuck in the sides, it protects you 77%. Similarly, if you wear simple cloth mask, it protects you only 50%. But if you wear a double mask, it protects you 85%. And now I see a lot of people coming to hospitals wearing double mask. So I also recommend you to wear a double mask. It might be a little difficult initially, but once you start wearing it, once you think that it's better to wear a mask than getting COVID, you'll get used to it. So always pair a surgical and a cloth mask for double masking. So this N95 is the best. So if at all you get a chance to buy N95, you can wear this, but it is a bit costly, 300 rupees, 290, 400, something like that. But then it is very, very safe. You can use, but N95 you don't have to use two masks. One mask is enough. So if I get a symptom, don't panic. Immediately talk to your doctor, either your office doctor or your family doctor, either online or direct. He'll prescribe you some medicines. He will look at the symptoms and ask you to do some tests. Follow that. If you test positive, immediately I see people calling me and crying and saying, "Oh, I am positive. What do I know?" do now. Don't panic, don't cry. If for 80%, it is mild infection, it will go off. So be positive, stay positive. Think that I'll fight COVID and I'll come out. So you can talk to your family physician, or we have lot of online consultations in COVID care hospitals. Even Arcury has online consultation for COVID care. So you can book an appointment and talk to the doctor, and the doctor will ask your symptoms and give you a prescription, and they might prescribe you some blood tests like complete blood count, C-reactive protein, D-dimer. These tests help us to identify what is going on inside your body. And after 3 days or 5 days, we'll ask you to repeat this test, which will tell us what is happening inside. Because mostly in COVID, we may not be able to identify what is happening by just seeing you. We need to do some blood tests to identify what is happening inside your body. And then we also, we don't recommend CT on the first day itself. We recommend it on the third day or fifth day, mostly after the sixth day, because this time the lung involvement is, presenting only after 6 days of infection. And the next thing is like, doctor might find some parameters which are altered, like maybe CRP is very much high, then the doctor might ask you to take CT on the first day itself. So CT values, everybody is asking me, what is the CT value? How is it significant? Yes, CT value in RT-PCR. Once you get the RT-PCR report, you will get a CT value. So it's like rank. Lesser the rank, higher the viral load. So if if the CT value is lesser, then the viral load and infection in your body is high. So you might spread to more people. So you need to be more careful. If the load is, if the CT value is higher, then you are less infective and you have less viral load. So 10 to 18, the viral load is very high. You might have serious infection. If it's 90 to 26, it's medium, and 27 to 32, it is low positive, and 33 to 35, it is borderline positive. And in CT also, many people send me the CT and ask me, what does it say? What does it depict? Then if the lung involvement is, the score is out of 25. So if it's less than 8 out of 25, you can be in home quarantine and you can follow the medications. You can consult your doctor. If it's 9 to 15, it's moderate. Depends on your blood reports. Doctor will ask you to get admitted. If it is more than 15, you will have to get admitted because you will need oxygen support. And these are the blood tests: CRP, D-dimer, neutrophil lymphocyte ratio, interleukin 6. All these doctor will decide. Will ask you to check and decide on how it has to be handled. Home isolation. I heard that many of you are in home isolation and you are very confused about what to do. You don't have to worry. Who are all eligible for home isolation? So either you do an online consultation or a direct consultation. Your doctor recommends, sees you clinically and sees your blood reports. Your oxygen level is more than 95 and your respiratory symptoms are all very less and fever is less. Then you are asked to be in home quarantine. So in home quarantine, what do I do? Please don't, if you have a separate room and bathroom, please isolate yourself in that room. Isolate yourself for 14 days from the start of the symptoms. And it should be a well-ventilated room. The windows can be open for some time. And you need to self-monitor your blood oxygen level. There's a pulse oximeter, which you get in the medical shops. You have to monitor your oxygen levels every day, 3 times a day. And it would be better if you can monitor your oxygen levels by walking inside the room for 6 minutes and monitor your oxygen level. It should be more than 90. If it is less than 94 or 95, you have to report to your doctor. And if the temperature is high, even after 3 days, you keep having the temperature, then you have to report to your doctor. And it's better for the patient to wear the mask, surgical mask or cloth mask all the time, even if inside the room. Or at least if the caregiver has to keep the food outside the room. And when the caregiver approaches the room, he has to wear N95 or a double surgical mask, not allowed inside the room. Better to keep the food outside the room and go. And these people have to take the food and eat inside the room. The person has to take, the patient has to take a lot of water, keep themselves hydrated. And if at all they have cough, they have to keep a handkerchief and cough. Because when you cough out, even if it's inside the room, it will spread around. So it's better to cough with the handkerchief and keep washing your hands frequently. And please don't share the plates. And it's better for that person to wash their own clothes or keep the clothes for some days and dip the clothes in Dettol and keep it for some time. And then for caregivers to wash it in another bathroom with soap water with wearing gloves. Even the plates and tumblers used by the patient has to be washed by the patient. If they are not able to wash, then the caregiver has to wash wearing gloves and keep that plate and tumbler separately. That should not be used by others. So daily they have to put a monitoring chart like that. They have to write the day of symptom, day 1, day 2, day 3, and the time. They have to record their temperature. From the pulse oximeter, you can record the heart rate and the oxygen level. And if you're feeling same, better, or worse, and you have to report it to the corporation person who's coming and meeting you every day, and also to your doctor. And keep a watch on your breathing. And do a breathing exercise every day and monitor whether it is becoming better or worse, and report it to your doctor. Red alerts are when you have suffocation, when you feel that you're not able to breathe properly, please report to your doctor. When the oxygen level is less than 95, especially after 6 minutes of walk, report to your doctor. When there is a tightness of chest or pain, or you feel something difficult here, that means your lung is getting involved. So you report to your doctor. When the caregivers find that the person is talking irrelevantly, he's disoriented, and sometimes you're not able to wake the person, he's going on sleeping, then you have to report to the doctor. You have to take them to the hospital. So the caregiver has to avoid direct contact with the body fluid. So you always have to wear a disposable mask. If at all you have to touch them or clean them or anything. And you don't, please touch any utensils or towels used by the person. You wear gloves and touch if needed. And food has to be provided outside the room, from the door itself. Don't go inside the room and give. And as I told you, it has to be washed with gloved hands or by the person himself. And the caregiver has to wash their hands frequently, and they have to wear the triple mask. And even after removing the mask, gloves, they have to wash their hands. So when does this home quarantine end? 14 days after the onset of symptoms, or according to the corporation, 14 days from the report date, COVID positive report date, your home quarantine ends. Usually at 11th day, 9th to 11th day, this viral transmission stops. So 14th day, you're free to go out and start doing your work. After 15th day, till 14th day, you have to be in the separate room. There's no need of any testing after the 14th day to make sure you're negative. After the 14th day, that is on the 15th day, you can start mingling with your family. But the room you used has to be cleaned, the bedspread, the pillow cover, everything has to be washed. And that room has to be cleaned with bleach or bleaching powder. Thank you. And any questions? I'm ready to answer.
Hi, this is Karthik Murali.
Yeah.
So one good thing is that the entire IT staff, the whole organization is working only from home. So none of them are working from office except for a few IT staff. So we are clear on that. So we are good on that, actually. So one question on the vaccination efficacy. So I am also a pro believer of vaccines, and I'm also double vaccinated with Covaxin, and I've completed 21 days after the second dose also. But one thing on the Covishield is that I have read that or come across cases, live cases, personally verified cases where even doctors in Delhi or Mumbai, I hope you can hear me clearly, right?
Yeah, I'm able to.
Okay. They were vaccinated right? Doctors were given priority in February itself. So they were for the vaccines. So there were doctors who took the 2 doses in March and April, and one doctor is in extremely critical stage, like in a ventilator stage, despite taking the Covishield. I am of the belief that vaccines definitely can infect a person. I mean, as in the infection can enter the body, but it should ideally not replicate, and it should not lead to a severe or a thing, and could only be a mild or moderate. But why do such cases occur? I'm not talking because of the vaccine. I'm saying despite being vaccinated, why is a patient going into a severe case? Again, very, 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 very less number of cases. Not we have definitely seen a decline in the number of cases above 45 and 60 in North. That is definitely because of vaccination. But why do such exceptions occur?
So it is very, very rare. Again, I want to put the point that the protection compared to infection is better. So vaccination is always better. There are exceptions. Could be the doctor had not developed enough immunity to the vaccination. could be because the viral load was very high. Could be because the viral load was very high when he got infected. So he was not able to produce the same amount of immunity when he encountered with the infection. As I already told you, the vaccination only sensitizes your body to produce immunity. So when you get infected again, your body starts producing immunity. So maybe the doctor's immune system was not good enough, or he might have been on any steroids, or he might have got a very severe viral load where we are all at risk because, as you know, we are all, he might have ventilated a person, or he might have put a ET tube where they get a bout of cough where heavy viral load enters the doctor's nasal tract. That could have been a reason, sir. But we cannot doubt the efficacy of vaccines just because of one case.
And can you explain the efficacy? As in, so we get a result from Bharat Biotech saying that it is 79% or 80% efficacy. By 80%, what does it mean? What does that 80% mean?
By 80%, they mean that like it is not against the infection. It is not against mild viral infection. They say it is efficacious, like it is, you can be protected up to 80%. If 100 people get infected, 80% do not go into severe infection. That is what it explains. So it could be mild or moderate.
Upper 20 people can still get into
Can. Yes.
Okay. And last question before, also, doctor, there are 5 questions in the chat window.
Yeah.
So you can, your question again on behalf of the employees only.
Yeah.
There are cases where a person has recovered, adukaprom probably a week later or 2 weeks later. I've heard from my own friends that they got a very heavy fever. Now they are sure that definitely 1 weekly, 2 weekly vara chance kadiyadu. It's not possible. But why did the fever? Not because of vaccine, I'm saying. I'm talking about people who have recovered from COVID and 2 weeks or 1 week heavy fever vandadundranga. So what could be the reason?
Reactivation of infection is happening this time, sir. It's like last time it was very mild. After 14 days, there were reactivation cases last time also, but this time we are seeing more cases, like the virus remaining inside and getting reactivated once the immune system goes a little lower. So this mutation is happening in the viruses now. So it is trying to find different ways to overcome this immune system and get reactivated, and then again, show this fever and all these symptoms. It's like the virus is not getting completely out of the body. Some are showing symptoms. It should be because of reactivation only.
Thank you. There are questions in the chat if you can answer.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it.
So, thank you, everyone. Dr. Ruba, there are questions regarding vaccinations. I see a couple of questions there.
Yeah, one of my in-laws is having reddish eyes for the past few days, and yesterday his 4-year-old son is also showing mild reddishness in eyes. What should be the next step? You have to discuss with your family physician. You can, if he recommends, you can go for a COVID test also. So because this time there is a presentation of reddish eye.
Okay, that's
my friend.
They don't have any pain or irritation kind of stuff and all. It's just like red.
So you can do an online consultation with the ophthalmologist, madam, because it could be a conjunctivitis also. Because of this, summer, usually in summer we get conjunctivitis, right? So it could be because of conjunctivitis. So it's better you can discuss with the ophthalmologist, online consultation. They see your picture, they know the present trend, they can advise you better.
Thanks.
So the next question is, I have many members in the family who got married in the last couple of years and are planning for a baby soon. How do they go about it with respect to vaccination? So vaccination, you can stop planning for baby for 3 months, get vaccinated. And after 3 months, you can plan for the baby. After the second dose, after 3 months, you can plan for the baby. There are studies going on saying even pregnant people can get vaccinated, but still we are not sure. The manufacturers themselves are not giving us surety that pregnant women can get vaccinated. So if you're not pregnant yet, then you can just postpone it for 3 months, get vaccinated, and then after 3 months you can plan for pregnancy, which is the best way to wash a reusable N95 mask. N95 mask is not reusable. I mean, not washable. So reusable in the sense, because it's very costly, you can use the tag, not very costly, but then every day you can't use a N95 mask, new one. So you can remove the tag like this and you can hang it outside. You can hang it outside the house. You should not take it inside the house. What is happening is some people use the mask, bring it inside the house, keep it in a shelf and switch on the AC. So you just think on the outer surface of the mask, the COVID virus is there. You keep it in the shelf and you switch on the AC. The virus on the surface of the mask gets circulated in the air and you start inhaling it again. There's no point in wearing the mask outside. So if at all you want to reuse a N95 mask, you keep it outside the house. If it's a individual house, you can hang it outside the house. And again, when you're using it, you can just take the tag and put it around. I mean, like using the tag, you can reuse it. But even then, you can use it only 3 times. That is 3 days. And then you have to throw it. So that is how you can use a N95 mask repeatedly. You can't wash an N95 mask. It loses its efficacy. I have a member in, yeah.
Hello, Dr. Ruba. Yeah. While you are answering the next set of questions, first of all, thank you so much for the session. It was very, very useful. Just one question. So after we are affected with COVID and have completely recovered, how long should we wait to take the vaccination?
3 months, sir. Minimum of 3 months, because COVID itself creates immunity and your body will start producing antibodies. That will last for a minimum of 3 to 6 months actually. But if you really want to get vaccinated, you can wait for 3 months. From, the quarantine period is over, you can wait for 3 months and then get vaccinated after 3 months so that the immunity will be better. The body will recognize more and produce more antibodies.
Got it. Thank you so much. Because I just recovered from COVID, so I just wanted to know for how long should I wait. So I'll wait for 90 days. Thank you so much. It's very useful.
Yeah, thank you. So the next question is, I have a member in my family who is diabetic, BP and cholesterol. Which vaccine you suggest? Both are good. Covishield and Covaxin, both are good. I am only worried about people who are waiting for one vaccine when the other is available. Please get vaccinated with Covishield. Even my family members, my in-laws, they are diabetic, hypertensive, they have high lipids. They've got 2 vaccines, Covishield, finished vaccination 2 months ago. So anything is fine. Whatever you get, you please get vaccinated. Getting vaccination is more important than choosing the vaccine. Can epileptic patients above 60 take up vaccine? You can take up, no issues. You have to continue your epileptic tablets, if at all you're on any tablets. So 2 questions. What's the current guidelines for second shot of vaccine for 60 plus? My parents are scheduled for this month, but heard they are suggesting a 6 month gap. I'm only worried about if at all that person gets infected within the 6 months gap, what will be their level? So level of antibody. So if you have completed 6 weeks, please go for the vaccination because we are in a crisis now. I don't want the elders to get exposed and get infected. Rather than waiting for 6 months to develop the full immunity, maybe we will also get a 3rd dose. Don't worry. You better get vaccinated if 6 weeks are over. What is recommended isolation period if we have come in contact with the positive people when we don't have any symptoms and tested negative? How long can we wait to touch clean bed sheets or pillows used by positive people? So first question was, how long do we have to wait? As I said already, usually you get the symptoms by 5th to 7th day. So if you don't get symptoms by 5th to 7th day and if you're negative, then we believe that you're not going to get infected. But then till 14th day, you have to look out for symptoms. And how long can we wait to touch clean bed sheets or pillows used by positive people? Actually, that person himself or herself can put the bed sheet in surf and Dettol and soak it for 3 to 4 hours. And that person itself, himself or herself can wash the bed sheet or pillow cover. But then if others want to wash it, you can use after soaking it for 4 to 5 hours, you can wash it with gloved hands even on the next day. That's not an issue. Only when it is not soaked, you get aerosols around, right? So you can ask that person to soak the bedsheet and pillow covers. Pillows, I think you can't use it immediately. You can wait for another 14 days. Bed sheets and pillow covers, you can wash it on the 14th or 15th day, and you can use it after 3 to 4 days. I heard that steam inhaling after COVID symptoms will affect directly to lungs. Is that true? Practically, I've seen many people getting better with steam inhalation. There are some studies saying that during acute phase, you're not supposed to inhale steam. But then I've seen people recovering with steam inhalation. So you don't have to use strong things like Carval Plus or something. You can inhale with mild turmeric powder and neem. That will help you definitely. If some has recovered from COVID after how many days he can take vaccine? Yes, 3 months. 3 months after the recovery. When can someone who tested positive get their vaccine? No, it is better to get after 3 months. My sister and myself had COVID and had recovered 3 weeks back. A doctor requested for an antibody test and it was all good. Is there a possibility for a recurrence? There is always a possibility for recurrence. You cannot assure that you will not get reinfected. So you need to be careful. You need to wear the mask. You need to wear the glove if necessary and maintain social distancing. You have to do whatever has been done pre-COVID. There is a chance of recurrence. The duration between 2 doses of Covishield is increased now. So as I told you already, it's better to take after 6 weeks than to get the infection. It's better to get the second dose. My relation have breathing problems sometime in a day, 10 minutes. Doctor suggests angiogram. We done that, result came no issue in the heart. Now suggest CT scan. Can we go? So you can check your oxygen level after 6 minutes walk. Breathing difficulty need not be only because of COVID. It could be other reasons also. Could be asthma, could be allergy, could be depression, could be stress. So you need to discuss with the pulmonologist. He will give a better idea. How much antibodies get generated after the first dose alone? So after the second dose, I have checked. It is more than 250. After the first dose, I have not checked. So I'm not sure about the number. But you get 50% protected. If 100 people get infected after the first dose, 50% go into severe disease. So it's better you get the second dose done as early as possible. Can heart disease patient above 50 years old take up vaccine? Yes, surely you can take up. Only thing is you'll have to look up for blood thinners. If the person is on azithromycin or heparin, you have to discuss with the cardiologist, check the INR and get vaccinated. If they are on clopidogrel or aspirin, they can get vaccinated. I heard that COVID recovered person can donate plasma and can save lives. How this works in Chennai? Where can we donate plasma? Actually, ICMR has stopped this plasma donation and they say it is not of much use. So nobody is doing this plasma donation now. Maybe we can check with the Rajiv Gandhi Government General Hospital. Only there, I think they're doing some research on it. Nowhere else they're doing this plasma. Hello, ma'am. Is it a good idea planning pregnancy this time? As I told you, if you're vaccinated, if 2 doses are over, you can plan for pregnancy. You have to follow the same instruction like social distancing. My brother got tested positive. I think I'm running out of time. Should I read all the other questions, Kavya?
Dr. Rupa, we'll take maybe 2 more questions and we can, I can send you.
Yeah, my brother got tested positive even after his quarantine period got over. Should he continue isolating because of the chance of reactivation, or is it okay to come out of isolation? Usually dead viruses are there in the nostril, so that can also show positive. It is a very mild positive. As I said, the CT value is more than 27. Then he can come out. Maybe he can wear a surgical mask and come out. But there's less chance of reactivation. My fiancée just recovered last week. She got 1 shot of steroids for tiredness. Do we need to watch out for mucormycosis? You have any different symptoms like headache, any blurring of vision, any vomiting sensation, all that, it's better to look out for. There's no harm in looking out for. But then it's more common among people who got oxygen, who got admitted in ICU, who got a lot of steroids. So it is more common among them. You don't have to panic, but there's no harm in looking out for the symptoms.
Ma'am, sorry, this is Purnima here. Thank you for the session, ma'am. A question on the vaccine. You said some people who are having allergic reactions or symptoms, they need to watch out. So is there a possibility or is there a procedure where they get a test dose and then get still vaccinated? And suppose when you're saying food allergy, what type of allergy and how do these type of patients still get vaccinated?
So we had a lot of people who said they were allergic to sulfa, allergic to penicillin. Government has not instructed us to give any test dose. There is no guidelines regarding the test dose, so we do not try this test dose. But then for people who had allergy, who were on allergic tablets like skin rashes, urticarial patients, we asked them to take their routine dose of Montecope or Allegra on the day and the next day of vaccination, so that we keep an eye on this allergic reactions. Penicillin and sulfa allergy we gave, asking them to keep an eye and come to the hospital immediately if at all they get allergies. But God's grace, nobody got any allergies. What was your next question? We gave vaccination. We vaccinated them even if after the food allergy. We asked them to keep an eye on if they got any itching or this thing. And we also gave a small dose of allergy tablets with them to make sure they don't develop any allergy. That is what we did. And we succeeded in that.
Okay, thank you. So I understand that a little bit of consultation, talking to the doctor, and still we can go ahead with the vaccine.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
So, Dr. Rupa, we have one last question.
Yeah.
So, I think we can have that, and we can.
I'm not able to hear you clearly. Can you be a little more louder?
So we have one last question in the chat box. I think we can take the.
So I have high IgE levels in my body, and I get rashes when exposed to extreme heat and sweat. So how should I proceed with the vaccine? That's not an issue. You can probably avoid heat and sweat after vaccination at least for a week. And you can take allergy tablets, if at all, Montecope or Allegra, on the day and after the day of vaccination. That is what we followed for people who had allergy symptoms. And you can keep an eye on even mild development of symptom and immediately come to the hospital if at all you get symptoms. But then you can get vaccinated.
Thank you so much, Dr. Juba, for providing valuable insights and your time to us. I'm thanking you on behalf of the entire Latent Wave team here. And thank you everyone for joining today's session, and prayers for everybody for a quick recovery. And thank you so much once again. Stay safe and stay healthy.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Only thing I want to tell you is don't panic, get vaccinated, wear your mask, keep social distancing, don't go out unnecessarily. Keep safe. We will get over this tide soon. Don't worry. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Doctor.